Well, hello and welcome again to Musée Dual YouTube channel. Today we're talking with artist Gary Matteson, who has a show, one-man show up here at the Musee. Gary, are you originally from Los Angeles?
Not originally, but I've been living here since I was a kid. My folks relocated from the Chicago area when I was like 11.
So you feel like a native,
Yes.
pretty much, yeah. Because there's a lot of Los Angeles in this show, and we feel there's a sort of love for the city that comes through. How did you end up knowing about Al's Bar and being a habitué there?
Well, I was an art student at Otis Parsons, Otis Art College, when it was down by MacArthur Park.
Right.
So, Al's Bar, that was very close to downtown, and Al's Bar was just very well known as being part of the underground art scene, and we used to go see bands there a lot. I think I started going there around 1983.
Okay.
And I was at Otis 84 through 86, so I was down there quite a bit.
Yeah, I imagine so. There's a lot of connection, a lot of crossover between Otis at that time and Al's Bar.
Yeah, for sure.
So you met Mark there while you were...
Probably met Mark a while later, but probably in the late 80s, but
Okay.
yeah, I was just would be down there with my friends and going to other like openings and stuff, and
Did you
end up at Al's Bar or whatever.
Right, or did you ever go to shows at like the American Gallery or?
Yeah, I did. I had a show. Mark invited me to have a show of my paintings with another painter. It was a two-person show in 1990.
Okay.
And some of these pieces were shown there at that time.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this show is paintings from
88 to 93.
88 to 93.
Yeah.
So we're really interested in that period of time that Gary was making all this amazing work. And so if you would, maybe we can start by looking at the lawnmower, which caught my attention right away.
Well, that was, painted on AstroTurf.
I really like the irony, and it's evident in different spots throughout your work, but it's no more pronounced than it is here.
Yeah, this was, I kind of got exposed to this artificial turf material, and I was interested in how you could stretch it like a canvas, and then it just became kind of like a funny thing to take like a bright red classic American suburban lawnmower and just paint it on this lawn that never needs to be mowed. And I think this is the first painting I did on AstroTurf, and it was fun, interesting surface to paint on.
And was this like in the 80s or?
This was in 1988.
88.
Yeah, this would be amongst the earliest pieces in the show. Yeah.
Well, I just really love the whole concept of it. So this next piece you have here comes out of the riots that happened in Los Angeles around that time. This is a burning mini mall?
Yes. Yeah, this is called Burning Mini Mall. It's oil paint on theatrical velvet, and it was taken from a photograph I took during the Rodney King uprising. And this was like a little strip mall on La Brea in Hollywood.
What I like, it's going to be evident as we go through here, many of your paintings show Los Angeles, but they don't show Los Angeles at its most glamorous moment, or even the most glamorous streets.
Yeah.
And one thing I do like about this too is it really, I think, highlights how painterly your work is. That you really.
It was interesting because so kind of like the AstroTurf, it takes quite a bit of paint to like make a mark. So in a way, it was a bit forgiving.
Striking. I really like this piece.
Thank you.
But the next piece, I happen to know that you'd spent a period of time studying the painter Edward Viard.
Yes.
And that becomes very clear looking at this piece, painted on a carpet, and where Edward Viard makes great use of patterns, floral patterns in particular.
Right.
Here you're painting the carpet on the carpet.
Yeah.
Which makes a great frame for this, and this is what I was talking about earlier about having a sort of a typical street scene in Los Angeles, but one that doesn't show all the movie stars and the limousines. And
Yeah.
This is sort of what downtown LA was to the rest of us. And again, you're painting on a carpet, so it's got to soak up the paint.
That's right, yeah. This is painted on just a machine loomed sort of cheap rug that I found at a thrift store. I mounted it to a board, and I kind of gessoed and undercoated the middle panel to prep it like a canvas. And then these other areas, I just sort of kind of went into the existing pattern to kind of simplify and make that kind of tapestry border. And the imagery is just a snapshot I took while stopped at the corner of, I think this is 7th and Broadway. That's the State Theater. And it was just, a sunny day, and people, busy crosswalk, people crossing the street there. And I just thought it had a lot of movement to it, the image. And I just kind of kept it impressionistic. And this was done after the riot paintings. And I call this one Dancing in the Streets. It's merely pedestrians, obviously, but it just felt like there's no burning buildings, there's no one getting in trouble. It's just people doing their life, and
Right.
in just a little moment in downtown.
And where's the connection you see to Edward Viard? I mean, is it?
He did a lot with patterns. I mean, he lived with his mother most of his life, and she ran a dress shop, and so a lot of his interior scenes, you see like bolts of fabric, and it's all these different clashing patterns. Specific to his like tapestry paintings, there's a big one at the Norton Simon, and that I was studying. It's a kind of decorative motif he did. He was almost like making the whole painting look like a woven tapestry, and I just adapted it to make mundane, banal, everyday scenes like into something decorative or beautiful. I don't know.
So we go from dancing in the streets to looters.
Yeah. So this isn't a rug, but it's actually a piece of like print, kind of like drapery fabric.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see a little bit of the original pattern. In this case, I mostly painted over it, and again, this was sort of like saying, okay, well, if you can make a tapestry out of that, you could do this too. And it maybe setting up a juxtaposition between, more kind of intense, disturbing imagery and like a decorative overall thing. Just playing with the ambiguity of that, the conflict of that, really.
Yeah. And is this from a photo that you took?
This is.
So you were right there.
Yeah, on the day when most of this kind of stuff happened, I found all the film I could find and got in the car with my camera and just drove around town till I ran out of film. I was just watching people loot stuff, and it was kind of a festive atmosphere. I mean, people were like, okay, I called it the 100% off sale. People were just taking the advantage of the chaos to just take stuff.
And at the same time, you're starting to do portraits of heroes of yours, starting with Super Barrio.
Yeah, this guy, Super Barrio, this was before the riots. This would have been in the late 80s, around the time that I was doing the AstroTurf stuff.
And is this also on velvet?
Yes.
Okay.
This is on velvet. And I heard about this guy, I don't know, on NPR or in the LA Times, and he was a housing advocate, community organizer in Mexico City, and they had this terrible earthquake there in 1985, and a lot of people's houses were, of course, destroyed, and a lot of lower income people were being evicted wrongfully from their houses so that people with more money could take over their apartments and stuff that lost their houses. And so, it was a big outcry, and he was already a kind of, political activist guy. And so in order to get more attention, he donned this, lucha wrestler outfit and had it, emblazoned a la Superman, but it's Super Barrio. And, it helped him get in the news more and bring attention to the cause, and I really liked, this is like in the height of the Reagan 80s when it's all about like, the individual and, greed is good. Remember this whole era, and And I like that this guy called himself Super Barrio, which means super neighborhood. It was about the collective, or the community rather, than just him.
One of several portraits that we're going to look at as we go around. But first we want to look at this. I had assumed that it was from the riots, but what I really like about it, again, just the sheer quality of the painterliness, the depiction of the flames and how it's consuming the palm tree, and making that the hero shot. But I really love the frame that goes around it. Now, is this on canvas, this one?
Yeah, this is the only piece in the show that's oil on canvas. All the others are on, obviously, different surfaces. Yeah. Yeah, this was from a photograph of a burning palm tree I took in 1990, so 2 years before the LA riots.
Oh, really?
Out in the desert. It was an oasis fire, and I went up to it, and I'd never seen a palm tree fully engulfed, and it was fascinating to me. And I painted this like the year before the riots, but it was in a group show at the LA Convention Center with work about the uprising, and we put this one in there too, even though it was separate from it. But it was kind of like the symbol.
Yeah,
you know.
Right. Now, we talked about Super Barrio,
Yeah.
and we're going to get into a couple of the portraits that you were into at the time.
Yeah.
You also admired Abraham Lincoln.
Yes.
And this is one of 3 portraits that are in the show. And what can you tell us about it?
Yeah, well, I mean, there was a time in the mid-'80s I was doing sort of some political paintings, and I made a couple paintings of Ronald Reagan, and I just didn't like the guy, and I was just like, okay, if I'm going to paint famous figures, I'll just paint people that I admire, and Abe Lincoln is one of the U.S. presidents that I admire. And so I did, one big piece about him that's here. That was sort of the main one. And then I did a whole series of smaller portraits, and it just became like a device for just making paintings. At a certain point, it didn't kind of matter I didn't really have like a set tone in mind when I would start one. I would just experiment with paint, kind of like, how Monet did a series of haystacks.
Right.
For him, it was about these different kind of times of day and atmospheric conditions. For me, it was just, I had my subject for a while, and I could just, if I wanted to paint, I would just paint another Lincoln and see what happened. And
apparently you did him at different stages of his life. I mean, here he looks like a young congressman.
Yeah, this is before the famous beard, right? Yeah. This is on velvet, theatrical velvet.
Interesting. Now, the next piece, as a survivor of Catholic school, is very interesting to me.
Okay.
To have Jesus Christ with the word critic, it just reminds me of the nuns that used to teach me.
Okay.
What can you tell us about this? And again, it's on AstroTurf, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember how I came up with the idea to paint a portrait of Jesus on AstroTurf, or how I came up to really juxtapose that word with it, but I just thought it's kind of set up a couple interesting, in a way, like Jesus was like a critic in his time of the existing order in a big way. He was like a troublemaker. And then is like the side joke of like sort of art critics think they're God or whatever, Right. So I think people can make of it what they want,
And they do.
Yeah.
I think it speaks to a lot of people.
Okay.
I think, especially in that last point of the art critics.
Yeah. This was in the American Gallery show in 1990. Yeah, it was. It got a lot of, kind of interest at that time.
Cool. And then we have another Lincoln here.
Yeah.
This one, the beard is there, and there's looking like a little bit of angst going on.
Okay, yeah.
The red eye.
Right. Yeah, this one, it sort of started to depart from like Lincoln and just be maybe more about the painting or something else. I don't know. It was, this one kind of feels like Francis Bacon vibe a little to me, maybe. I thought that like circle was kind of interesting. It's like,
oh yeah.
Doesn't really make sense, but I've always really liked this one, and it's painted on board, some kind of board. I think This is one of the ones where I used to have these like cheap, thin plywood boards that I would use as a palette to mix paint and stuff, and then I would kind of like use a rag and just kind of knock down the heavy peaks, and they would dry, and then I would paint stuff on them. And this is one of those that it was just a palette, you know. So there's like some artifacts left over from just, you know, moving paint around on a palette, you know.
And then we go from one century to the next.
Yes. Yeah, this is Mikhail Gorbachev, you know, the last Soviet president, premier, and I admired him for what he was trying to do. He was trying to kind of, you know, reform Soviet communism and save it. It didn't work out that way, but you know, glasnost meant open. He was trying to open to the West, and the other famous term was perestroika, which meant restructuring. And he was kind of riffing off late Lenin. And Lenin, at the end of his life, was trying to kind of institute market reforms to the early Soviet Union, and then he didn't last long. And Stalin came along, and the rest is history. But and you know, so Gorbachev kind of got gobbled up by the times. Things got out in front of him. But I thought he was a good statesman, and I did. This is a couple years before the Lincolns. I did a whole huge series of these. They're all over the place. I sold a bunch at the American Gallery Show in 1990. I've given them away. I've sold them over the years. I still have a few left. This is one of them. This is photocopy mounted on board with oil paint. And at the time, I had this. I bought this Xerox machine that would enlarge, and I used to like cut pictures out and blow them up and kind of and then tile them back on and paint over them. This one doesn't. This one just has this element and the face element as photocopy collage, but that was another kind of device I was using at the time.
And then we go back to street scenes of Los Angeles again with the floral board. You're painting on upholstery, or?
Yeah, this is upholstery and or drapery fabric, and leftover like remnants of decorative fabric, very traditional kind of decor, you know, stuff.
And we have, is that an RTD bus?
Yeah, back when we had RTD buses in the rain. This is like Santa Monica Boulevard, you know, in Hollywood, and the 7-Eleven there.
Now we're going to look at a series of about 6 of these landscapes, and they all seem to be, or most of them seem to be kind of in dreary, rainy kind of weather, or cloudy at least. But the point is, it's not the bright, saturated color that you see in most landscapes of Los Angeles.
I don't think I would have done like made the blue sky necessarily, you know. I mean.
Well, yeah, there's definitely your sensibility coming through in these. Yeah. This one here, the panel truck.
Yeah.
I like it. It speaks to me. I used to be a truck driver, and so I enjoy it.
Oh, that's cool. That's great. Yeah. Yeah, this is on the 5 by Los Feliz. And this is kind of like a nice day. You know, it's got a little palm tree going, and you know, I was really into like letting the floral pattern kind of shine through there a little bit, show through. And
I was going to joke, it's a nice day. You can tell because the flowers are coming out of the sky.
Out of the sky, yeah. I'd like that kind of slightly psychedelic, but not like paisley or tie-dye. You know, it's like a different type of hallucination.
The next one is Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah.
I would know it anywhere.
Yeah.
But this does seem like a gloomy day.
Yeah, this probably was.
Not Hollywood Boulevard when it's hosting the Oscars by any means.
No, just a normal day, middle of the week. Yeah, you can see, I mean, again, this was probably painted in 92.
Just from the cars?
93, yeah, the cars are really old.
From a photo you took?
Yeah, all of these.
All of them are, yeah.
And don't tell anyone, but all of them were taken while I was driving too.
Yeah, my son does that. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, it's not safe, but hey, you know.
And this is Hollywood Boulevard again?
Yeah, this is Hollywood Boulevard on a sunny, hazy day. Like smoggy, probably, you know, like the middle of summer. And here I was just kind of into that atmospheric effect.
And then this one I like a lot.
Oh, good.
For a couple of reasons. Again, the painterliness of it, the quality of the brushwork, and the choice of colors and how you describe the scene.
Yes.
And it feels like home to me.
It's a very common scene. Yeah, this is like North Lancashire, looking towards the mountains, way up there by Strathern or Tuxford.
Yep.
And yeah, this one, I think I was just going to kind of paint the whole thing in, and then I got this far and I just decided to leave it because this pattern is just so weird with that. But I do like this sort of kind of dialed in little area because I think your eye really goes to that. And
it does.
I wanted to just kind of at least get this in there a little worked out, you know.
It absolutely goes there.
Yeah.
And I think the pattern works perfectly as a sky and as the ground and coming through everywhere.
Thank you.
It just integrates nicely.
Cool.
And then this last landscape we're going to look at is entitled Burger King. Again, the same kind of things happening with the fabric as a background bleeding through. And speaking of bleeding, we have some dripping going on here.
Yeah.
That maybe that's why I feel like it was a rainy day, but maybe not. It's a great sequence of paintings.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thanks.
So we come to this one. It's a really spectacular piece because it's a portrait of Andre Breton, but you have actual knife blades coming out from the portrait. And is Andre Breton another hero of yours?
Wouldn't say he's a hero, but I was reading some of his philosophical writings on the Surrealist movement. You know, of course, he was the kind of theoretician for them, and you know, he made some moves that pissed a lot of people off. But one thing he said that I thought was interesting, because I was kind of doing political art at the time, and he was talking about how the Surrealists, when they got bad publicity or when the police came and shut down one of their exhibits, they would use that publicity to get their message out further. And so this was sort of like a metaphor for, you know, if the knife thrower is throwing knives at you and has you hemmed in, you know, typically you would see the knife handles, but then this is sort of like flipping that around and making, I don't know, like capitalizing on that or going on the offensive when it seems like you've been encircled, something like this, you know. And this is on a photocopy mounted on board with oil paint as well. It's just on a thin plywood board, and then I cut holes to bring those knives through.
And then you end up with a very surrealistic piece.
Yeah, it's cool how you can see his face reflected in the blades as you go off angle. It's called the Permanent Surrealist Revolution, and he was all about just kind of constantly renewing the movement so it remained relevant and at the vanguard of, you know, artistic thought and revolutionary effort.
Let's look at this other Gorbachev.
Yeah.
This looks like, well, there's Reagan.
Yeah.
And Lenin. So talk about this one a little bit.
Yeah, well, this one was just a collage I did with the photocopies, and I just superimposed this portrait of Gorby on it. It was just kind of like in that series, I was just doing a bunch of these and kind of getting experimental with it, and I kind of liked how he was just kind of peeking into the frame, and it's almost like a negative image, like he's like glowing or something.
Well, let's talk about this last Lincoln portrait.
Okay. This is the first Lincoln I did, and I don't know where I got the idea, but the title of it is Gettysburg Redress, which is, as opposed to Gettysburg Address, which was his famous 63-word speech at the Battle of Gettysburg. And the idea was it's kind of like an apparition. Kind of Lincoln emerges from the grave to survey the Union he worked so hard to save, and he's like disappointed and shortens his famously short speech down to 2 words, you know. And so, and this was painted in 1990. I would imagine, I mean, what would he say now, right? I mean,
It is kind of like a critique of what we've made of the country.
yeah.
Well, thank you, Gary,
Thank you.
and showing us all the work you were doing at that important time here in Los Angeles. The work is compelling. It's on a lot of different levels. And I want to thank you for showing here at Musee du Al. And I know you're working on other stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I have a website, GaryMattesonArt.com.
GaryMattesonArt.com.
Yeah.
When you watch this on YouTube, be sure to subscribe, please. And again, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. My pleasure. It was fun.